I have been having such issues with, I don't know, it taking so long to get things uploaded to YouTube that I've decided I really just need to just go ahead, bite the whatever you're supposed to bite, and just go ahead and start doing more lives. So I think I'm going to be doing more lives. However, there's sometimes lag issues, streaming issues that happen. So that's been another one of those things that have sort of kept me from doing this too. But let me talk about this new article that the New York Times put out. Now, this is not a new issue. This is not something that we just learned about today. The litigation has been going on for a while now. The study came out a few years back about the association between hair relaxers and uterine cancer. And yes, so I want to talk a little bit about that. Look, I was just hanging out, checking my email this morning, and up pops my email in this article from the New York Times. Now, again, nothing new here, nothing out of the ordinary, but it did catch my attention. Let me see if I can go back. Well, here's the article. Let me show you the article first. So this was the title of this article, The Disturbing Truth About Hair Relaxers. And in terms of who this was directed toward, I don't know. I don't really know the breakdown of the audience for the New York Times, but because I have a subscription to it, it popped up for me, and there you have this. But there was this woman who I guess had done the research for this particular article. And let me see if I can scroll down here and find it. I probably can't even find it now. It's probably gone off into Never Never Land. I have breaking news: Supreme Court upholds abortion pill access, but the New York Times article that was related to this looks like I may have deleted that. All right, let's see. Here we go. This was actually titled The Morning, The Danger of Hair Relaxers. That was the title of the email that I got. And it said, "Good morning. Today, Linda Villarosa uncovers a health threat for many Black women." Okay, when we say uncovers a health threat, we know that this has sort of already been in the news for a while. So the fact that that was the title that they sent to me, the New York Times has uncovered a health threat. No, 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 that's not quite true. This has been going on for a while. There was a sister study. I wish I had the date here. Let me see if I have the date. I thought it was 2022, but they followed. Yeah, that study. This study was published in 2022, but they were following 34,000 women. 34,000 women over time to learn that those who used hair relaxers were 2.5 times more likely to get uterine cancer. So this was not anything new. But yeah, that was the label, the attention. We know what it is, right? It's trying to get my attention, trying to get me to go ahead and open up the article, which is exactly what I did. But yes, it said Linda Villarosa uncovers a health threat for many Black women. Like I said, she didn't really uncover anything. She shared some information that was already out there, and we are appreciative of anybody who is going to elevate and share that kind of information. So it says it starts off with a vast majority of Black women, approaching 90%, have used a chemical hair relaxer to straighten their natural curls. Some use it every other month, beginning in childhood. And let me get rid of the New York Times picture for a second, because this is something that I hear people ask, and they say these things to Black women and say, "Oh, well, why did you start using it?" There were some people who started using it when they were children, when they were kids. Their parents used it. They're primarily mothers, or mothers who may have taken them to salons. Children were not reading these packages. And even if they did read the packages, there was not information that was very straightforward to let you know that you needed to have some sort of concern about this product. Now, I'm going to say that with a big asterisk by that, because if you've used hair relaxers, especially back in the day, then you probably used some sort of base, right? Petroleum jelly was always my base of choice. As I got older, I used like Emotions. You know how you'd normally use like an oil spray for your hair to give it shine? Okay, so I would use that on my scalp because it was easier than going through doing all those parts, parting your hair every which way, and putting petroleum jelly on your scalp in order to protect your scalp. Why? Why? Because the relaxers would burn. And if your scalp was unprotected, or if the product stayed on your scalp and got on your scalp, then you would sometimes have sores. Now, for some people who chose to use some of the strongest products, remember these products came in all kinds of versions. You'd have mild strength and super strength, and relaxers for curlier hair and relaxers for permed or colored hair. So you could be using any of these products, and yeah, depending upon whether or not you had really truly done a good job of protecting your base, you might get burned. So if you're a child, you're going to the salon like your mother or whoever or auntie or grandma takes you. Or you may be using some of these products at home. A lot of these box products, box relaxers, as we would refer to them, were used at home. And I used Dark and Lovely for years, 4 years. So I can attest to some of the things that I'm talking about. If you use any of these products, just let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this. But here's the thing. So the New York Times, like I said, is sharing this article today. And again, like I said, it's always great to have another party seek to elevate and share that sort of information. And one of the questions we sometimes get too is, and this is sometimes directed towards women who are using products like this, is, oh, there's some sort of hate that you have against your own hair, that you don't like it and that you want to be something else or somebody else. But for some people, it's more about convenience and being able to put the hair in a style that they like, or to be able to handle it a certain kind of way. And yet there's all this conversation about how Black women wear their hair. But I will say this, I will be very frank and very honest with this. I have had some Black women who want to wear their hair in its natural state say to me that they don't feel comfortable doing that because of their work environment. They don't feel like their supervisors or some of the people that they work with want to see Black women's hair in its natural state. That is what I've been told by some Black women. Otherwise, they're just like, I would totally do it. I would totally do it. But I just don't think the environment that I work in is as accepting as they say they are. So there you have Black women using a product that they really don't want to use anymore, but that they feel obligated to. And then the next question becomes, well, hey, why don't you just leave the job then? Well, not everybody can just up and leave a job. It takes time. And as you can see, yes, I no longer have a relaxer. I have not had a relaxer in over 10 years. I stopped, I guess, back around 2008 or so. And I really didn't know what to do with my natural hair because even when I was younger, it was straightened with a straightening comb, hot off the stove. And now, of course, since I guess about 2014, maybe even earlier than that, it has been natural. And I primarily wear my hair in locks now. And I guess it's been since December 2022. So we're at the year and a half mark, maybe like 18 months. But yes, this article. So let me talk a little bit more about what's going on in this article. Like I said before, we've been hearing some things about this for a while. And if you did not know, there is litigation going on. So you have thousands of plaintiffs now that are participating in these lawsuits across the country. And right now, there's a master complaint, and it's really coming out of Illinois. I think it's coming out of Chicago. But let me scroll down a little bit in this because I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are in this article. And then I also want to head over to this other article that talks about asthma and its relationship to it too. So yeah, so there's this piece here that goes back and it says the scientists are driven by their own intimate experience. They're talking about the women who are behind this article. And it says, as children, they sat in salon chairs or in kitchens having chemical relaxers, colloquially called, and you see the terminology there, applied to their hair as they waited for it to go from kinky to smooth and silky as the products promised. Decades later, they still recall the harsh smell and the sensation of their scalps being aflame. And this person goes, I go all the way back to, I was right, James Todd said. That stuff that was burning on my head, it wasn't safe. And so the things we sometimes do for cosmetic, for, I don't want to say vanity, but most of us do want to look our best. We want to walk out of the house feeling good about how we look. We brush our teeth, we try to take care of that. We make sure we wash our face, we do our hair, and we try to present the best of ourselves. And it's not always about presenting it to the world. It's also about having respect in yourself and who you are. And so you want to take care of yourself. And one of those things comes down to some of these products that we use. Hair care being a large part of that. When you look at products and the sale of products now, personal care products is like a multi-billion-dollar industry now. So you have a situation where product companies are saying, yes, people are more in tune to making sure they look good, they smell good, they're doing well and taking care of themselves. And we don't want to give up a piece of that monetary pie. We want to, if anything, reach out and bring more people in so that they can purchase and use our products. And if there's a problem with our products, well, if you're not going to be a company that is going to be forward on information and sharing that information when it may not be positive about your company because you're more concerned about the money, then that's not necessarily a good thing. So you have this situation now, particularly with L'Oreal, and where they've had this motion to compel because they have not shared the information during the discovery process of this lawsuit that they're supposed to share. They've been very limited in terms of saying, well, here's what we got. We went and got some stuff from the financial department, and that's what we're going to give you. And the judge is just like, no, discovery means, hey, L'Oreal, any of this information you have regarding how you marketed these products to Black women, that falls under discovery and you need to turn it over. Well, L'Oreal, I mean, I need to stop buying their products until they get with the program and do what they need to be doing. But let me go back to this article a little bit. And like I said before, we are glad that they are uplifting this information because a lot of people don't even necessarily know about these lawsuits that are going on. They don't know about the number of Black women who have been diagnosed with uterine cancer after using some of these products. And so this is Dr. Tamara James Todd. So this is one of those people we want to hold up and say thank you for leading some of this research. And sometimes it takes a person who actually has been there to be the person to lead it. And so it says here, she's a Harvard professor who has been studying the chemicals in hair products and their links to reproductive health disorders in Black women for 20 years. She has been doing this for 20 years. All right, so it talks here about many of these hormone health related problems are more common in Black women than in other women, including an aggressive form of breast cancer that contributes to a death rate from the disease that is 28% higher than the rate for white women. So just imagine yourself in a room full of people, it's Black women and white women, and you find out that, hey, 28% more of the Black women in that room are likely going to have health issues because of the cosmetics that they're using. Well, that's not a good thing. We're not saying we want white people to be up. What we want is for all women not to have to be subjected to personal care products that are not safe for them. But we understand where this is all coming from, right? All right, let's look a little further down where it says the evidence took a drastic turn in October 2022 when the sister study, which was led by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences and followed a cohort of nearly 34,000 women, found that those who frequently used chemical hair straightening products, a majority of whom were Black women, were 2.5 times as likely to develop uterine cancer as those who did not use the products. Uterine cancer is the most common cancer of the female reproductive system, and the most aggressive subtypes have been on the rise since 2000, especially among Black women. And so here's the thing. If you don't know what's in the products and what those, and even if you do know what's in the products, how do you know how they act on your body? And so you pick up one of these boxes and you say, okay, well, let me read the list of ingredients. Well, most of us are not going to know what those ingredients break down into, and then how they impact our body and how they impact our body over time, because we continue to use them on a very frequent basis. Now, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was perming my hair using Dark and Lovely, usually I would try to do it about every 6 weeks. I mean, you need enough new hair growth to be able to put the relaxer on it, right? But you don't want so much hair growth that you have all this puffy stuff at the root and then you have all of this straight hair. And so you're always looking for this sort of balance of how often do I need to get a retouch, touch up those roots? How often do I need a retouch? And for some women, if your hair grows really fast, then you're going to need a retouch more frequently, meaning you're going to be exposed to those chemicals that have now been associated with causing a 2.5 times more likelihood or increase in uterine cancer. You're going to be more likely than someone else whose hair grows slower, who might only be using it every 8 or 9 weeks. So it really does break down into, how often you used it and what kind you were using and how long you kept it on and whether or not you did have these sores because, the base wasn't up there well, or maybe you weren't using a base, or whoever was doing it to your hair wasn't using a base. How many times did we use box perms to put it on our friends, our best friends' hair for them? So part of this has to do with the culture of Black women and how we interact as sisters. And I don't necessarily mean biological sisters. I mean just as girlfriends and friends, when we take care of each other and do things for each other. When I was growing up, my sisters and I would call it SNS Hair Salon. So that's when we would break down and start doing each other's hair, and because there were three of us. So there were three of us. And so, yes, we called it SNS. I'm sorry. All of our names begin with S. So, yes. So we didn't say S, S, and S. We just said S and S. It was enough. The youngest one was a lot younger. She was 10 years younger than me. But you get it. It's sort of this cultural sort of thing. And I can imagine that in other cultures, it's the same sort of way. The women who are doing the hair together, doing the makeup and talking about clothes and some of those things that fall in line because there are certain characteristics. And there may be certain cultural things that men do together also. But I think a lot of you understand what I'm talking about when I talk about the culture of, sitting in the kitchen, getting your hair pressed, or, having the relaxer put on. And then you got to, look at the clock. You got to look at the watch. I don't know who still wears a watch. You got to look at the timer and set it and make sure that, you're not leaving it up there too long, because then, you can really damage the hair. So culture plays a lot into this also. So let me go back to the article here. So yes, 2.5 times as likely to develop uterine cancer as those who did not use the products. So let me go down to this next part. It says the sister study and several studies that followed. So not just this study, okay, including work from James Todd's lab, the woman that I just showed you before, represents a significant step forward, offering compelling scientific evidence of what has been long suspected. Over the past year and a half, this research has prompted lawsuits involving nearly 9,000 plaintiffs across the country, and at least the promise of new action from the federal government. Okay, so let's backtrack here for a second and talk about that, because we do know that sometimes the federal government can be a little slow in catching up and saying, hey, company, no, that product that you have in that item that you're selling to consumers, we're going to tell you that it is banned, that you can no longer use it. Like, the federal government is not necessarily always upfront with this. A lot of times it does take litigation. It takes litigation and people suing and having scientific documentation to back them up to say, you know what, we're not going to continue to just let this happen. I'm not going to let, other women go through this. We're going to fight this and we're going to go to court. And so when the government doesn't necessarily step up in its role, sometimes you have to have plaintiffs that come forward. And in this case, you got like 9,000 across the whole country. You got all of these people who are now filing these lawsuits. And if you go back and take a look at some of my other videos, then you'll see that some of these, the initial lawsuits that were filed were very long. They gave a whole lot of background information regarding Black women and hair and how these things got started. There's a whole history there, and it's very eye-opening to just sit and listen to that. And then there's the piece about the different companies and which company bought what company and how they then grew and how much money is flowing into this industry. And then if you listen to some of the other videos, I've got examples of the actual complaint that you can file. There is a form available that you can actually go online and get and fill out yourself. I think it's a really good job that you reach out to an attorney in your state if you can find one that's working with this stuff. But there's a short form complaint that you can fill out, and there's a list of products. So you don't have to try to figure out, well, I don't know if the product I use. There is a list. You can actually take a look at the list of products that are in this lawsuit and determine whether or not products that you use were on that list. So I've taken a look at that list. There are plenty of products on that list that I did not use, but Dark and Lovely is on that list. And I did use Dark and Lovely. Now, thankfully, I don't have uterine cancer because I don't have a uterus anymore. I had a hysterectomy a few years back. But here's one of those missing pieces that sort of falling through the cracks with this case now, that I feel like there needs to be some additional work on this area. And that is, we've got uterine cancer over here, and then we've got uterine fibroids over here. And so the question is, hey, what appears to be moving forward with momentum are the cases where Black women have been diagnosed with uterine cancer. Where Black women have only been diagnosed with uterine fibroids, but not uterine cancer, I'm seeing that there's not as much support for those cases. And I don't know if it's because a lot of the science hasn't caught up with that yet, but the science is there on the uterine cancer side. So you can see those cases moving forward through the court. What I have seen in terms of some of the uterine fibroid only cases is I've seen what looks like some people actually now say, you know what, we are going to withdraw our case. Let's do a motion to dismiss. We're out because we don't have uterine cancer. And so I have seen some of that. So the question, though, is there scientific evidence that is out there that provides some sort of information about the relationship between these relaxers and uterine fibroids? I think that is going to be the next thing that we see after the uterine cancer cases. But look, it's going to take us years. It will take us years to get through this uterine cancer case because, like I said before, you have companies like L'Oreal that won't even provide the information that they're supposed to provide during discovery. So that is not helpful. That is not helpful at all. All right, let me go back to this article so we can continue breaking this down. All right. Um, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit more because I wanted to talk about this piece about formaldehyde. It says if and when the FDA removes formaldehyde from relaxers, that ban would not address the fact that the products most often used by Black women remain vastly underregulated and until recently insufficiently studied. Many of the substances they contain are prohibited in other countries. Now, this is the piece that I want you to take away. I want you to listen to this math here. The European Union regulates more than 1,300 ingredients for use in cosmetics. The FDA prohibits or restricts only 9 ingredients that have been proved harmful to human health. Okay, so it says here in the United States, manufacturers, not the government, are nominally responsible for ensuring product safety. And what do we know in that case? A lot of times, manufacturers are doing, some of the studies that they need to do. I don't think, and I will say this, I do not think that manufacturers are purposely saying, I'm going to put a product out there that's going to harm people, that I know is going to kill people. What I think is, over time, when more information becomes available, that they're slow in sharing that information, that there are people on board who may want to dampen how that information is shared, that there are people around them who will massage the wording that is used. And so I think what happens is you have manufacturers who are not very ethical when it comes to saying, well, let's just get out there and say, okay, look, we've got some problems here. We're going to backstep. We're probably going to change the formulation here, but we're letting you know we're on top of it and we're not going to keep putting this product out here like that. How often do you see that? Like, how often do you really see that? And yet the manufacturers are the ones who are primarily responsible. And so when they don't step up like they should, when they don't become the leader, the ethical leader that they should be when they put these products out on the market and say those things that I just said, hey, we're taking another look at this. Hey, here are the issues that we're taking. When they don't do that, well, what do people have to do? They have to take action themselves. And that's when you see these lawsuits. And that's why you're looking at, like I said, almost 9,000 lawsuits across the country when it comes to these chemical hair relaxers. So yes, like I said, do the math there in terms of what's in this article and what it says about how much do I want to say better of a job the European Union is maybe doing when it comes to some of this. I don't want to show you the whole article because really I don't want to get into any copyright issues here. But I have to show you some of the article in order to be able to talk about the issues that are in the article. So we're going to take advantage of, some of the exceptions to the copyright rule, right? This is newsworthy, and we're talking about it. And the only way to talk about it is to bring it up. Okay, it says, under the lax oversight by the American government, even the package labeling can't be trusted. Remember, I said that. I said, and like I said, I'm being nice here. When I say that, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt when I talk about the package labeling, because it is how labeling has been traditionally done. And we have not, as a society, asked more. I'm going to backtrack because there are some groups out there who do ask more. There are some people out there who say we want more information, provide us with more information. But you have a political network and a political setup that allows for people to say, we're not going to worry about requiring more information on those companies. Some of those companies might have people giving a lot of money to certain candidates. That's kind of how some of this works. So let's just be honest about what's going on here. Our government needs to be able to regulate in a way that is not influenced by politics. So that's how I'm going to frame that. And we know that to some extent, there is some of that going on. Now, let's get back to the actual labeling of these products. Like I said before, even if they put the ingredients on the product, I don't know what that stuff means. I don't necessarily know what it is. And I certainly don't know, like, what's the biochemical reaction that takes place when that particular item is now in my body? What happens to it? How does it break down? And how does it impact my body over time? Does it impact my body in such a way so that when I get ready to have children, now it's an issue for those children too? Like, how much damage do we do? Well, you're not going to know that in most cases by looking at the packaging. There's just not going to be enough information there for you to make a decision to be able to say, well, I don't know, red color number 9, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. And so most of us don't know. We don't get enough information when we're reading this packaging. So then it says, a 2018 scientific report conducted by Silent Spring Institute, an environmental health research organization, was built on a list supplied by James Todd of 18 different hair products marketed to and used by Black women. Silent Spring found dozens of chemicals that can disrupt hormones, but 84% of the toxic ingredients weren't listed on the packaging. So this is why the first thing they set up here was you can't even trust the packaging. It says even the package labeling can't be trusted. I need to do a whole nother interview just on that. You can't trust the box. You can't trust the box. So even if you were to say to yourself, I'm going to look up everything on the box, this is telling you 80% of the toxic ingredients weren't listed on the packaging. Several studies have found higher levels of endocrine disrupting chemicals in the urine of Black women compared to that of white women. So now we got dirty urine. Now we have dirty urine. So where is this going to go? So how do you determine, how are you supposed to figure out which is a product that you can use and which is not? How are you supposed to determine that if the ingredients aren't even listed on the packaging? So again, like I said before, you can't necessarily rely on the government to tell you. And so it's incumbent upon the manufacturers to step up. And if the manufacturers don't step up, well, then we're taking you to court. And again, this is more of what you're seeing here. But the problem is now people don't even know. It's like, what's in the packaging? What is in the packaging? And the packaging is resulting in all of these products that are products that you don't know that are toxic, according to this article. And that, as it says here, several studies have found higher levels of endocrine disrupting chemicals in the urine of Black women compared to that of white women. So not just in your hair, not just through your scalp, but now it's going through your whole body, and that some of this is coming out in your urine. You've got dirty urine. It says here, this means that even as the evidence is increasingly harder to ignore or deny, consumers remain shockingly unprotected, leading to an entirely preventable continuing public health crisis. This is a public health crisis. And there are still women out there who don't understand don't understand, because first you got to know, right? So if they're hiding this information from you, like I said, not even putting it on the box so that you can know, how are you going to know? You're trusting the company when in fact you shouldn't. And that is what this article is pointing out here. So one of the things that we have to do is to continue to look out for each other and to make sure that the sisters you know and the sisters you don't know are being more conscious about the products that they're using. And I personally believe that we do have sort of a heightened sense and awareness now that people are able to do a little bit more research, because it's like, well, let me go online and Google that. Like every time, like you meet a new person, you like, let me Google that person. Let me look them up on Facebook. And I think we're also doing that when it comes to products. Years ago, when I was growing up and using these hair relaxers, there was no Google. There was no Google for me to go to and figure out, okay, so which is the best product? Which one have people already tried? Which ones have reviews out there that I can trust? There wasn't any of that for us. And so now, because we can go online and research and find out, we still may not know what's what's in the product because it's not on the box, but we can get more information, like some of these studies that are out here saying, hey, just want to let you know you can't trust because they didn't put it on the box. Okay, you can't trust because they knew about the study and then still didn't let you know. You can't trust because they won't even turn over documents, L'Oreal, when the court has told you you are under a motion to compel and you need to turn over the documents, and you still don't do that. So that's who you can't trust. So again, it's up to us to share this information, even though we know that we have access to Google and can sort of look some more things up. All right, let me go back to the article here. I'm like out of breath and talking too much. Like, this is disturbing my throat is what's going on. All right, it says many Black people. Let's go down here. Many Black people have quietly wondered for years whether hair relaxers were safe. But burning scalps and even hair loss have been normalized as the price of desirably straight hair. It's it's like the high heel phenomenon, right? It's the high heel phenomenon. We go, okay, such is the price of beauty, right? I'm gonna look good no matter what. I'm gonna put on the heels, even though it might throw my back out of whack. Might do some things to my calves. I'm still going to put them on and look cute. Well, with the hair relaxers, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm, going to suffer through it, even though I might know that there's something going on with it. All right. So yes, many Black people have quietly wondered. And you can see this. Do I have it up here so you can see? Let me bring this picture back up because I want you to see this ad. So look at this ad here. Here's an ad. Softly straight hair, so natural looking, which is interesting because as a Black woman, that's not the natural look of my hair. My hair has never naturally looked like that. Like, no. So let's see what this thing says. I want to read. Let me get close to see what it says. It says, like so many thousands of smart women and men, why don't you take the simple, pleasant way to easy to manage straight hair? Just one non-irritating application, really, of Perma Straight Cream Hair Straightener keeps hair perfectly relaxed for 3 months or more. I mean, that part is forever changed because you're changing it. Lets you comb, dress, or style your hair in any desired manner. Perma-Straight is so gentle that even the makers of dyes, tints, and bleaches recommend it because Perma-Straight actually reconditions hair as it softly straightens. Go modern, go modern. This is sort of a 60s kind of look here. I'm feeling that that's a 60s look here. And so it's sort of saying, go modern. Like, I'll say late 60s because remember, 60s, we're thinking afros, right? 60s, we're thinking afros. So by the time, and 70s too. So by the time we're moving into the 80s, it's like, go natural, move into the 80s, get your hair straightened. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It says in bleaches, recommended because Perma-Straight actually reconditioned. Okay, it says go modern, go Perma-Straight today. Only $225 for a complete home kit at drug and toiletry counters, or if not, order from Perma-Straight. And this is out of Memphis, Tennessee. This is out of Memphis, Tennessee, guys. This is out of Memphis, Tennessee. So yes, I have not been as familiar with Perma-Straight. I've never heard of it. So obviously that was something way before my time. Let me know. But look, it says here ads for hair straightening products helped build an exploding mid-century market by reaching Black women in the magazines that they read. Now, let's just be honest here for a second too. Let's go back here with our history because we don't want to miss this part. Now, we all know that there were Black people too that were making products for Black women and their hair. Okay, so we all know that. Let's not miss that piece either. The point here is that you've now sold to some of these companies, and that's fine. Also, the next point is then it becomes knowledge. Then this information is shared that some of these products that you're targeting for Black women have chemicals in them that are dangerous. And so it's one thing to look at this article, to look at this advertisement and realize, yes, they were among articles in maybe Jet magazine, maybe Ebony magazine, maybe Essence magazine, that some of these may have been out there targeting us. But it's another thing to then find out later, 2022 study that says, hey, okay, so you guys have knowledge about the fact that some of this stuff was harming Black women. Well, now you do, and now you need to do something about it. And you also may need to repair the harm that was done to Black women who got uterine cancer. So that's sort of where we are with this. And you guys, I haven't even made it all the way through this article. Like, I think I'm maybe 1/5 through this article. There's a whole bunch of ads in here too. I need to do one totally. They're mentioning Chris Rock's good hair. But the other thing that I want to talk about really quickly before I stop and have lunch is this other article. And actually, it's not even an article. It's some more information, and this one has to talk about asthma-associated chemicals in hair products used by women. And so some of us may be familiar too with some of this concern. Oops, I have it on the wrong thing. Let me share this tab instead. So some of us may be a little bit more familiar with the idea, especially that women who work in salons, people who work in salons, have been exposed to a lot of aerosols, a lot of chemicals in some of these aerosols that they've been spraying over time, and that also is an issue. But this particular article, I want to talk about this particular article that actually gets into talking about asthma-associated chemicals in hair products. Now, I had not specifically heard as much conversation about this one. And look at the date on this. The date of this goes back to 2018. So we're talking 6 years ago. 6 years ago, where have I been? I have obviously been under a rock. It says personal care products are a source of exposure to endocrine disrupting and asthma associated chemicals. Because use of hair products differs by race and ethnicity, these products may contribute to exposure and disease disparities. Well, remember, that was the whole thing about the hair relaxers. Remember, Black women, 2.5 times more likely to get uterine cancer than white women. That was what came out of the Sisters study that followed almost 34,000 women. And so now, you start to see, hey, the impact here can result in disease disparities. Well, I just quoted you that came from that study. So it says the preliminary study investigates the endocrine disrupting and asthma associated chemical component of hair products used by U.S. Black women. All right, so they tested 18 hair products in 6 categories. Look, some of these I would not think about. Okay, so we're all familiar now because I've been talking about it and you've seen it in the news. So you're like, I'm a little bit more up to speed with what's going on with the relaxer thing. I'm not using relaxers anymore. I'm talking to my other sisters about it, people in the community I know, just to sort of raise awareness with everybody else that we need to actually take a look at these products and what they're putting out there before we just put them on our bodies. So yes, so we know about the relaxers, but now it's sort of like, wait, some of these other products that I'm getting ready to talk about are things that we typically think of as maybe healthy and not harmful, or that just you wouldn't think necessarily to associate it with something else. But here we are. Let's talk about a few of those. Okay, so we have hot oil treatments. Hot oil treatment. See, I would not have thought of that. But now I'm reading this. I'm like, hot oil treatment. Anti-frizz and polish. I have used anti-frizz and polish. I mean, like, I love a good polish with shine. I haven't used one frequently, but yeah. Leave-in conditioner. Okay, I'm gonna have a new take now on leave-in conditioners. We're gonna see what the results are. But the fact that they're listing these here, you know, leave-in conditioners, root stimulator, hair lotion. Oh, the whole time my daughter was growing up, I used pink the pink lotion, in the pink bottle. Like, it was great. Like, her hair looked gorgeous all the time. Her hair grew down her back. Like, her hair was so healthy when she was young because it got washed and it was taken care of with that hair lotion. And then relaxers. And of course, I never used relaxers on her hair. So those are some of the products now. So it's not just relaxers we need to be looking at. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that you would need to think about your anti-frizz polish that you're putting on your hair or your hair lotion? All right. So it says we tested for 66 chemicals belonging to 10 chemical classes, and we are not going to get into all the chemistry there because this is not a chemistry video. Products tested contain 45 endocrine disrupting or asthma associated chemicals, including every targeted chemical class. And so they list there all of the different kinds that they found. And it says root stimulators, hair lotions, and relaxers frequently contain, I don't know, some phenols, parabens, and fragrances. Okay. Anti-frizz products contain cyclohexylanes. I should not even be having to, I should not even say these things. Hair relaxers for children, contained 5 chemicals regulated by California's Proposition 65 or prohibited. Like, you can't even use this stuff in the European Union. It says, or prohibited by EU cosmetics regulations. Yet over here in the US, we've got it in stuff for children. We've got it in stuff for children. Only California is out there by itself, it looks like, looking out for its children. Targeted chemicals were generally not listed on the product label. What did I just tell you? It is not on the box. That's what that New York Times article said to you. You cannot even trust the packaging because it's not up there. The information is not up there. There is no way for you to even know. Like, how would you know? Okay. I can imagine if you go to the website, there might be some information there. That's another video. But again, the EU, the European Union, is looking out for its children. California, under Proposition 65, is looking out for its children. These items are regulated. But the rest of us, children beware. Targeted chemicals were generally not listed on the product label. So what are the conclusions for this particular study? Hair products used by Black women and children contain multiple chemicals associated with endocrine disruption and asthma. And then it says the prevalence of parabens and DEP is consistent, one of the targeted chemicals, is consistent with higher levels of these compounds in biomonitoring samples from Black women compared with white women. What are biomonitoring samples? Your urine usually is one of those things that they're testing. Okay, remember I mentioned earlier, dirty urine. So your urine's coming out. It's got all this other stuff, all these chemicals still in them from what you have ingested through your skin or through your hair, through your scalp, whatever it is. It says these results indicate the need for more information about the contribution of consumer products to exposure disparities. A precautionary approach would reduce the use of endocrine disrupting chemicals in personal care products and improve labeling so women can select products consistent with their values. So right now, you can't even do that. Like I said, it's not on the box. So there you have it. That's the first part of my my take on some of what's in this New York Times article that came out today. Some information from this study. But definitely let me know in the comments if you're one of these people feeling some kind of way about having used relaxers, not knowing that you possibly could have been exposing yourself to some of these endocrine disrupting chemicals. And now you or some family members or some other people you know are concerned about the health impacts on your body. Let me know. Did you grow up using relaxers? Are you going free now? Going natural? What are you doing? And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. Peace. I'm going to go have some lunch because it's lunchtime.